Hi everyone, welcome to session number 3 of this beginner series designed for complete beginners to yoga or someone who hasn't been practicing very much recently and really wants to sort of break things back down, slow things down and really talk through the foundations of poses and move quite slowly to just increase flexibility, increase mobility as well. So, as always, I've got a block, strap, something similar. So we will be using a strap today. If you don't have a yoga strap, you can grab anything from around the house, like a dressing gown, cord, tie, scarf, something that you can use. You might also want to have a cushion, pillow, rolled up blanket close by to sort of cushion yourself out. We are going to get started lying on our backs. So coming to a comfortable position on your back. So you can choose here either flat out, arms alongside your body, or you might want to bend your knees and bring the soles of the feet together to touch into your Supine Twist. So whichever variation feels most comfortable. And notice your spine along the mat. I'm sure pretty much all of you are going to have a gap between the lower spine and the floor, and that's great. Some of you will have a bigger gap than others. But really run your awareness along your spine here and try and have it as relaxed, as sort of neutral as possible. Let's take a couple of deep breaths to just draw ourselves into our practice. Let go of anything else that might be going on in your mind, in your day. And really just drop into this space that we have, this space that you have made for yourself today. And as you deepen each breath, notice where in your body you're breathing. And as you start to deepen the breath, maybe you feel even more space starts opening up and you can go even deeper into your breath. Using this time to really breathe and use this breath to clear your mind. Clear anything out of your mind, your body that is just not serving you, not doing you any good right now, and trying to come to a place of complete calm, complete stillness. From here, we're going to guide our knees together, so you might even use your hands to lift them up. Place your feet flat to the floor, hip width apart, and notice how your spine is along the mat now. So again, there'll be more of a space for some of you. Some of you will have a big gap between the floor and your lower back, but we're all going to take a couple of pelvis tilts just to get awareness of the lower back. We're going to stretch through our hamstrings a little bit. So before we do that, we want to just check in with how the lower back is feeling. So start to press the lower spine down into the floor. As you do this, you'll feel the tailbone sort of tilt up. The core muscles should gently start to awaken as well. From here, we're going to do the reverse. So sort of sticking out the tummy, press the lower spine, the sort of tailbone into the back as you lift, make that space even bigger. Maybe even feel if you can put your hands underneath that space. Let's reverse it once more. So pressing the whole of the spine along the mat. And then tilting back up, finding that space, press the tailbone down. Let's do one more round like this. So tilting, press the whole spine really firmly into the floor. And then going the opposite way, finding that space between the floor and the spine. Gently allow your spine to come back to neutral. And then hug your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a nice big squeeze. It might feel good here to take a little rock side to side, just massaging the lower back. Great. From here, we're going to grab hold of our strap or whatever you're using as a strap today. And keeping the left knee bent, so the sole of the left foot is on the floor, we're going to loop the strap around the ball of the right foot. We're then going to start to straighten that right leg as much as you can. So don't worry if it's sort of closer to the floor and your hands are sort of reaching forwards instead of up. But straightening the leg and lifting it up as high as you can. If your hamstrings are feeling really tight, you can take a little bend in that knee And again, don't worry about the angle of this leg. You're just going to, I wouldn't say to your edge, so not going to a full expression, but just coming somewhere that you can feel a nice stretch along the back line of the body, along the back line of this right leg even. And if you can here, flex the toes back towards you. And as you do that, you'll feel a deepening in the stretch and the sensation along the back of the calf and the lower ankle. Check in that the shoulders are relaxed on the floor. Check in with the face and the jaw. Often we start clenching and holding on to tension in these places. And even though you're pulling back on the strap, you're not putting it so much that it's really hard work. So it's just a sort of just pulling back on the strap enough that you're feeling the stretch, but you're not sort of over exerting or over pulling, feeling it in the arms. Just staying here for a few more deep, deep breaths. Great, and then we're going to release the strap, so unhook the strap, and then lie flat on your back just for 2 or 3 breaths, maybe noticing a difference in sensation in the different legs. One might feel a little bit tingly, it might feel longer than the other. That's very normal. And then let's set up for the other side. So looping that strap over the ball of the left foot. You're going to bend that right knee, so the sole of the right foot is on the floor too here. It just gives you a bit more stability, especially in the lower back. And then you're going to straighten that left leg as far as you can. Don't worry again if it's sort of quite far down towards the floor. Just lifting it as much as you can. And the strap here should mean that rather than using your core muscles, which often starts happening to compensate for lack of openness in the back of the leg. So trying not to tense up too much in the upper body here, rather just relaxing into it, but going into it enough that you have got quite a strong sensation. Again, if this feels quite strong, you can take a little bend in the knee. Just go into it as much or as little as you need to. And as we hold these poses, you might start noticing that the lifted leg might shake a little bit, it might wobble a little bit. That's completely normal. If it's not too uncomfortable, try and breathe into it and just stay with those sensations. Know that if at any point it does become overwhelming or like too much is going on, you can always come out of the pose, pause the video, take a little break. Wonderful, let's unhook that foot. Place your strap or whatever you're using to one side, and again, just lie flat on your back for a moment. Just allowing that pose to really sink into the body. And then hug your knees in towards your chest, give yourself a squeeze once more. Grab the underneath of the thighs this time. And using a little bit of momentum, rock yourself up to a seated position. If you need to use your hands, by all means, use your hands. We're going to roll over into a tabletop position. Again, any transition that works for you. And today we're going to be looking at a little bit of balance and a little bit of working from the floor to standing. So I know often, especially if you've had quite a sedentary time or maybe it's a little bit later in life, the transition from floor to standing can be quite a challenge. So we're going to work on that. We're going to lift up onto the right fingertips and step that right foot forwards and then step it up. Left foot forwards, coming into a forward fold. If that doesn't work for you, just find your way into a forward fold position. Don't worry if the hands are quite far away from the floor. They can just be wherever they comfortably reach. Let the head hang heavy. Keep the knees nice and soft. So we've already opened the hamstrings, so they might be feeling a little bit more open than if we had come straight into a forward fold. Really let the upper half of the body relax down towards the floor, relax muscles in the face. Keeping the knees nice and soft, we're going to roll up to standing. So take it slowly, take it easy. Head is the last thing to lift. Great work. We're going to just come find a good standing position, starting in our mountain pose. So we spoke about that a bit in the first video. Feet are hip width apart. Let's take a little look down towards the toes. See if you can lift the 10 toes. So same thing, you should have done this before in video number 1. We're going to spread the 10 toes, so really try and find space in between the toes as much as you can. Already you should feel a lift or a sort of sensation in the inner arch, a part of our feet that we often neglect. We often roll into the arch of our feet. With the toes spread wide, see if you can lower them back down onto the floor, one toe at a time. It's surprising how difficult it is. Let's do it once more. Let the feet go natural. Lift the 10 toes. Spread the 10 toes, really finding space in between the toes, especially if you spend most of your time in shoes. Maybe some of you wear high heels a lot at work. And then slowly lower the toes back onto the mat. Nice. So looking down, you should have a little bit more gaps in between the toes. They might not quite have done what you told them to do. Let's release that and come back to neutral feet. You might need to just rock a little bit backwards and forwards. And in fact, everyone, just take a couple of rocks backwards and forwards, finding your sort of center of gravity, your balance, because that is what we are going to move into next. From here, we're going to take a little tree pose. So root that left foot down. Really think about pressing the left foot down. And then we're going to start by just bringing the sole of the right foot to the inside of that left ankle. Hands come together at heart center. For some of you, this might feel a little bit wobbly already. For others of you, if you're feeling secure, see if you can lift the toes so the whole of the right foot is on the inside of that left calf. Wonderful. So it's either toes on the floor or toes lifted. Find a spot in front of you. So coming back to your drishti, your gaze. Try not to let your eyes move from that spot. And then options to keep the hands where they are, or reach them up. Think about a tree growing, springtime, blossoms coming out. You're growing up nice and tall, standing a little bit taller. But try not to let your eyes move. Don't worry if you wobble, if you fall, if you come all the way out of the pose, just come back in your own time. Amazing. Come back through center, so hands come together. Drop both feet down. Hands come alongside body, and let's just do a couple of those rocks backwards and forwards. So feeling your way into your feet again, noticing how they're feeling. And then let's do that on the other side. So root the right foot down. Left foot either, keep the toes on the floor, sole of the foot to the inside of that right ankle. Hands together at heart center. Again, choose. If you feel a little bit wobbly here, just stay with the toes on the floor. Otherwise, you're lifting the toes up, and maybe you go for toes up today. Give yourself an extra challenge, but if you've got a wall near you, maybe you hold on to that. Find that spot again with your eyes. Focus them softly onto that spot. Don't let them move. Choose if hands stay together, or if again you picture that tree growing in springtime, the blossoms coming out, and channel that energy into a full tree pose. Taking a few deep breaths here. Again, don't worry if you are wobbling, if you are falling, just gently bring yourself back into the pose. And let's release. Hands come together at heart center. Place both feet onto the floor. Hands come alongside the body. And again, just gently rocking backwards and forwards, feeling your way back into your feet. Great. We're going to take one more balancing pose, so one more standing pose before we come back down onto our mat. Bring your hands onto your hips. Again, if you want to hold onto the wall at any point, please do. We're just going to lift our right knee up. Try and keep your hips level, so it'll be tempting to tip, or tilt I should say, but just try and lift that right knee as high as it goes. Don't worry if it's just a couple of inches off the floor. That's a wonderful place to be. Keep the toes flexed up towards you. And breathe. Just staying here for 3. For 2, can you lift the knee a little bit higher? Last breath. And then we gently place that foot back on the floor. Let's do the other side. So try and keep the hips level. That's why hands on hips is a great option here. just slowly start to lift the left knee. Maybe you started a little bit lower and work your way up. Maybe you go full expression and then have to back off. Either way is great. Flex the left toes up towards you and stand nice and tall. So really think about reaching the crown of the head up. Let's hold it for another 3. Ujjayi breath for 2. Lift that knee a little bit higher, last 1. And releasing both feet onto the floor. Let's take a couple of rocks backwards and forwards again. If you have moved, make your way to the top of your mat. So if you move like me, go ahead, step towards the top of the mat. Let's inhale and reach the arms up nice and tall. As you exhale, you're just folding forwards. So keep the knees nice and soft if you want to here. Hands come either to the floor if they reach, or just let them dangle. We're going to take a halfway lift. So either bringing your hands to your shins or maybe towards your thighs. Try and have your spine parallel to the floor. You can have a bend as much as you need to in the knees, but just really think about drawing the crown of the head forwards and the rib cage forwards. And then we'll fold forwards once more. We're going to step back onto that right knee, followed by the left knee. So you're back in your tabletop position. We've been here already today. You should know where you're going a little bit. And then we're going to just do one more round of standing from the floor. So lifting up onto the left fingertips, you're going to step that left foot behind that left wrist, and then follow it by the right foot. You're back in a forward fold. Again, hands can either be on the floor, floating, opposite hand to opposite elbow, but let the head hang heavy. It might feel nice to take a gentle shake of the head, yes and no. If the hands are in ragdoll, release them. We'll take a halfway lift, so hands to shins or to thighs. Reach the chest forwards, find a flat back. And we fold. Bend the knees so much that the fingertips touch the floor. We're going to come back into our tabletop, so stepping the left foot back first, followed by the right. You're back in your all fours position. From here, start to walk your knees forwards and you kind of come, sort of spin yourself sideways, coming all the way back into a seated pose. So legs straight out in front of you, toes are flexed back towards you. Again, we're going to stay here for a little while, I think probably about a minute from now. So choose if you want to stay upright, or if you feel like you've got a bit more space now that we've moved the body a little bit, maybe you fold forwards. So really focusing on the lower half of the body today through balancing and stretching it out. Wherever you are, try and flex the feet back towards you so much so that the heels lift off the floor. Checking in with your breath. Wonderful. Staying with it. Last few moments here. If you are folding forwards gently, coming all the way back up to seated. If you need to release it by leaning backwards, please do. And then we're going to bring the soles of the feet together to touch. So knees open wide, so a bit like the Supta Baddha Konasana, but this time we're seated upright. If your knees are really high up and it's super uncomfortable, you can reach the feet quite far away from you. So heels can be closer towards your body or further away, it doesn't really matter. And if you need to, you might want to place a block or a cushion underneath each of the knees, especially if it's sort of tugging on your inner thighs. If you can, have your hands to your shins and use that to sort of help you sit up nice and tall. Take 2 deep breaths here, maybe a sigh, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Do that once more, in through the nose. We're going to walk our hands to our feet. And using your thumbs, you can choose to stay where you were and not join for this, but it does feel quite nice. Use your thumbs on the inner arches of the feet. And see if you can give yourself a little bit of a self-massage here. So just rolling your thumb into the arch of each of your feet. And it's really nice to do this anyway, but especially after a little bit of balancing, we don't often give our feet much thought or much attention, to be honest. So it does feel really nice to give this little bit of self-love, massaging all the way into the arches, maybe finding a couple of pressure points underneath the pad of that big toe. If you can find it, you'll know when you've got it. Wonderful. Just staying here for a couple more moments, massaging those arches. And then we're going to come all the way up to seated and make our way onto our backs. So slowly rolling your spine along the floor. Feet are flat to the floor, hip width apart. I'm going to take a gentle back bend from here. So make sure you can just brush your heels with your fingertips. And some of you are just going to come into this a very small amount. Others of you are going to push a little bit further. Think about the feet. So we focused on them a lot today. Think about that place you were just pressing with your thumbs and try to think about opening it. Pressing the baby toe edges of the feet down. Pressing the heels down. And then nice and slowly start to peel your hips up off the floor. Keep that same pressure of pressing the feet down. So you might just lift your hips off a couple of inches and that's wonderful. Work with that, go there. Some of you might lift the hips a little bit higher. Some of you might interlace your fingers underneath you and walk your shoulder blades a little bit further towards each other. Try not to flare your rib cage here. So it's really tempting to just press the chest up. Rather than do that, think about control. So think about drawing, sort of knitting the rib cage towards each other, and then you'll feel your core muscles switch on. Make sure your glutes are also switched on here. You might even give them a gentle little poke. And we're just going to stay here for another 3, for 2, for 1. If your hands are interlaced, let go. Slowly, slowly, slowly roll the spine along the mat. Great work. Let's sway our knees from side to side. From here, we're going to straighten the left leg flat along the mat. Hug the right knee in. Give it a squeeze. Let the right knee fall towards the left for a supine twist. So right knee's towards the left, right arm opens towards the right. Gaze is also towards the right. Try and keep both shoulders on the floor here. So don't worry if this right knee is quite high up. Maybe you place a cushion or something underneath it to support it. If you want more, you can do what I'm doing and place your left hand on top of that right thigh, sort of drawing it down towards the floor a little bit more. Notice how your breath feels as you twist. It might be a little bit more challenging to get that full body breath, but do your best here. Do your best to keep your breath at the forefront of your mind. You've allowed yourself this time, this space, so really enjoy it and make the most of it. Coming back through center, let's swap sides. So straighten that right leg out, hug the left knee in, give it a nice big squeeze before we go anywhere. And then let your left knee fall towards the right. Again, take your time to set yourself up. Left arm opens towards the left. Gaze is also towards your left. Try and keep both of your shoulders rounding down into the floor. Feel where your breath is going in your body. And then nice and slowly we come back to center and straight into our flat position for our Shavasana pose. If your lower back is feeling tight after all of that stretching, feel free to grab your cushion and place it underneath your knees. It's always a nice way to end a practice. Let your feet fall open, palms face the ceiling. Close your eyes. Let go of whatever you might have been holding on to or worrying about, and just really allow yourself to come to this rest. Let your body absorb the movements that we've just taken. Shavasana, final rest. Bring some movement to your fingers and your toes, just gently bringing yourself back into the room, back into your body. Reach your arms up overhead, taking a full body stretch, really reaching up. Enjoy the sensation of reawakening the body. Roll onto your right side into a fetal position, pausing there just for a moment. And then coming all the way up to a seated or a kneeling pose, hands together at heart center and your eyes are closed. Taking a moment today to close your practice by bringing to your mind someone or something that you are grateful for right now. And with that thought of gratitude in your mind, in your heart, lift your thumb knuckles up to your forehead center. And together we bow forwards and say Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed your practice with a little bit of balancing in today. Don't worry at all if you were really wobbly, if you haven't done balancing for a while or ever maybe. It's definitely something that the more you do it, the easier it will get. So any sort of balancing, even once a week, you're gonna quickly feel or see changes in what you are capable of. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again soon. Any questions, any requests, always send me a comment, send me a request, and I will get back to you.